Mr. Jeskowitz?
Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Here.
Mr. Shanchuli?
Here.
Morgan? Did I say that correctly?
Here. Yes, Dr. Fortier. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hyman? Ms. Connor?
Here.
Ms. Stanley?
Here.
Ms. Young?
Present.
Ms. Penna?
Present. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Berkeley Heights Board of Education was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. On November 6, 2023, notice of the Board of Education meeting schedule was sent to the Star Ledger and the Courier News and was also provided to all schools, PTO presidents, the BHEA president, and posted in the administrative building. A copy was also provided to the public library and filed with the municipal clerk. Adjournment to executive session. Whereas the Berkeley Heights Board of Education seeks to adjourn to executive session in full compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. And whereas the Open Public Meetings Act provides that a public body may exclude the public from that portion of the meeting at which it discusses matters related to those identified below. Matters rendered confidential by federal law, state law, or court rule. Individual privacy, collective bargaining agreements. Purchase or lease of property of public interest could be adversely affected. Investment of public funds if public interest could be adversely affected. Tactics or techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property. Pending or anticipated litigation, attorney-client privilege, personnel employment matters affecting specific prospective or current employees. Be it resolved that the Berkeley Heights Board of Education adjourns to executive session to discuss matters related to personnel, students, and contract negotiations, and be it further resolved that the minutes of discussion of any of these items will be disclosed to the public when matters have been determined and confidentiality is no longer applicable. May I have a motion to adjourn to executive session? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We should be back approximately 7:30. Thank you. A motion to come back to public session, please. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Can we please stand for the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I will move straight on to the report of the student representatives.
Hello, everyone. As the winter season approaches, let's take a look back at the fall sports teams this seasons. The football team ended the season with a 6-4 record, making the playoffs for the first time since 2016. The football athlete of the season is senior running back Owen Chait. Head coach Peter Remigio said, "He was our leading rusher this year and an excellent student. He does everything asked of him for the program and the school community at large." The boys' soccer team ended the season 11-6-2, losing in the semifinal round in the NJSIAA tournament. The boys' soccer athletes of the season are senior captains Blake Ortiz, Kyle Haramoto, and Chris Von Nelson. Head coach Kevin Fontana said, "Blake was our leader at the top of the field, scoring 12 goals and adding 2 assists. Kyle was our man in the middle, the player we needed on the ball when the occasion called for it the most. He was the one that always stood the tallest. Chris was the backbone of the team, our leader from the back, the anchor of our strong defensive unit that was relied on all season long as we played numerous Group 4 programs, ranked teams, and had many shutouts." The girls' soccer team ended the season with an 8-10 record, losing in the quarterfinal round of the NJSIAA tournament. The girls' soccer athlete of the season is senior Sarah Castrovinci. Head coach Michael Roof said, "Sarah has battled her way from 2 different ACL tears, and we finally got a chance to see what she can do on the soccer field for the first time in a long time. Sarah was our defensive anchor, helping us hold it all together." If you look at the total body of work, you can see how Sarah not only got better as the year went on, but the rest of our defense got better as well. The boys and girls cross-country teams participated in the NJSIAA Sectional Central Group 2 Championships on October 28th. The boys team placed 7th out of 15 teams. The only option for the girls was to qualify as individuals, as seniors Ava Klink and Samantha Richter placed 11th and 12th respectively out of 78 runners. The girls cross country athletes of the season are seniors Klink and Richter. Head coach Chris Coughlin said, Ava put in the work over the summer and it has really paid off for her all season. She ran a personal best in almost all her races, bettering her county race by over 2 minutes. Sam has been devoted to the sport for the last 4 years. She consistently comes to practice, challenges herself by running with the boys group, and is a role model for everyone, freshmen to seniors. The boys cross-country athletes of the season are juniors Michael List and Sean Jacqua. Coughlin said, Mike put in a lot of effort and miles over the summer. His grit and great attitude put him in a new world of running. Sean led the team in practices and races the whole season. He came into the season in the best shape any of our runners had ever been. He battled with some of the best runners in the state and continually dropped his times. The cheer team cheers for the varsity football games throughout the season. The cheer athlete of the season is junior Ava Barca. Coach Danielle Ganelli notes, Ava is such a pleasure to work with, both as a coach and teammate. She shows consistently by always being there for our team. She always shows up ready to work hard and always strives to be the best athlete and individual she can. The field hockey team ended the season with a 10-7-1 record. The field hockey athlete of the season is junior Christina Iosa. Head coach Jacqueline Wells said Christina's strong shot, coupled with her ability to push the ball up the field, contributed to our successes this season in winning the Essex Union Blue Division Championship. Christina's willingness to progress her skill, take feedback from her coaches, and be a supportive teammate make her a fantastic addition to our team. This season, Christina broke the record for the number of goals in the season, scoring an impressive 15. The girls' tennis team ended the season with an 11-4 record. The girls' tennis athlete of the season is sophomore Julia Kravchenko. Head coach Joey Panchenko said she won every match in our division this year, won a round at the state tournament, and is very determined and courageous on the court. Lastly, the girls' volleyball team ended the season with a 21-7 record, losing in the state finals against Demarest, but winning a second consecutive sectional championship in as many years. The girls' volleyball athlete of the season is sophomore Abby Kim. Head coach Stephen Hess said, we had a deep team with a lot of outstanding players, but Abby is what really sets us apart from many other teams. She led the team in scoring with 205 kills, a single-season Governor Livingston record, while also being one of our best defenders and servers. Thank you.
Good evening. With the first marking period officially over, GL students are continuing to thrive inside and outside of the classroom. Many students are engaging in community service here at GL, including the Interact Club. Student members of Interact have had a tremendously successful year so far, as they already raised $1,183 for Action Against Hunger with a car wash earlier this fall. In addition, yesterday they also held a sandwich making event to support Market Street Mission. The Understanding Asian Cultures Club and GL Unfiltered both held Diwali celebrations where students met during lunch to make traditional sweets and stenciled art. The Eastern European Cultures Club also announced a winter clothing drive to benefit Ukrainian children and soldiers. Donations of jackets and blankets can be made until December 3rd. Weekly college visits are continuing throughout the months of November and December, with visits from the University of New Haven, the U.S. Naval Academy, and Savannah College of Art and Design. Today marks the opening night of the fall play Puffs. Performances will be held at 7 p.m. on both Friday and Saturday, and Sunday will also have a matinee show. With December quickly approaching, GL students are looking forward to exciting opportunities. On December 6, 2023, the sophomore class will be participating in Challenge Day, a program that focuses on mental health and bringing students together. Thank you and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you both for those very informative reports. Do any of the board members have any questions for our student reps?
I just wanted to say how wonderful our fall athletic season has been. It's really been fun to watch all of our students really achieve some really amazing stuff, some firsts for our district. So it's really great. Jake, what do you think? What was your favorite sport to watch this fall?
Honestly, I went to my first ever Governor Livingston volleyball game for the state finals, so it was definitely fun to see them play.
Yeah, They're really, really good. My daughter did PAL volleyball in middle school this year. So it was really fun to go to the senior games this year. So it was lots of fun. And then Olivia, are you going to Puffs this weekend?
Yes, I think I will on Saturday.
Oh, good. I think I'm going to go out to the Saturday one too. So maybe I'll see you there.
I'm definitely going to that. Anybody else have any questions for the reps? No? Okay, so we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Varley?
So, good evening, everyone. We will have the fall athletes at the December meeting so that we can celebrate them and their achievements. Tonight, I want to welcome Anthony Juskowitz. He is our new business administrator. So this is his first meeting. So, welcome, Anthony, and I'm looking forward to working with you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Luke Robleski and his a cappella group called Glissando. So, Luke, I'll turn it over to you. What do you think? Should they face the camera or should they face the board? Face the camera. Be famous. Be famous.
So
Yeah.
come into the middle, like into the middle here. Yeah.
I want to go out there to see.
Yeah, I'm going to. Get pictures of each of these.
Hello. Hi. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank the entire Board of Ed for allowing us to have this opportunity. We had a similar opportunity last year. It was extremely awesome, and we'd like to thank you for allowing us to do it again. I'd like to thank my supervisor, Lori Scott, who took the time to be here. And I'd like to thank everyone back here. My name is Luke Robleski. I'm a second-year teacher here in Berkeley Heights. I teach vocal music both at Governor Livingston and at Columbia Middle School. And one of the first things I did here when I took the position was start this a cappella group. This is Glissando, or certain members of Glissando. It's the a cappella group here at GL. We competed last year at something called the International Championship of High School A Cappella, which is a collection of the greatest a cappella groups from around the state to compete and share music. And I'd like to report that to the public for the first time that we will actually be going back to that competition this upcoming year. So on February 3rd, you can mark your calendars. Glissando will be at Bayonne High School competing again. Really great opportunity. We're excited about it, but we're also excited to perform for you tonight. We have for you a song called Caledonia, which is a Scottish folk song, which talks about the missing home and always taking home with you. It's starting to become sort of our alumni song, our senior song, to sort of remind our seniors, hey, even though your journey here at GL might be over, hopefully you take the lessons that you've learned and the memories you've made along with you. This song is featuring Jada Reyes, senior in the middle right here. Can you wave hi, Jada? She will be featured in this song here. So this is Caledonia. We hope you all enjoy.
Let me tell you that I love you. I think about you all the time. Caledonia, calling me, and now I'm going become a stranger. Know that it would make me more than sad. I think about you all the time. You're calling me, and now I'm going home. And if I should become a stranger, I would know. I would don't say everything.
Thank you so much, everyone.
That was. Yes, absolutely. That was amazing. Thank you, Mr. Robleski. They were fabulous. Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Nixon, you are up to announce and recognize our National Merit Scholars at Governor Livingston High School. We're very excited and proud of these young people. Yep. Yep.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I am Robert Nixon, principal at Governor Livingston High School, and tonight I have the privilege of sharing the accomplishments of some very impressive Governor Livingston students. This year, we're proud to share that we have 18 outstanding scholars who have demonstrated the ability to achieve academic excellence and make our school community very proud. These students have been identified by the College Board for the distinction of National Merit Scholar. The National Merit Scholarship Program began in 1955 and is one of the most academically competitive programs for recognition in scholarships. High school students enter the National Merit Program by taking the preliminary SAT, National Merit Scholarship qualifying test during their junior year. The test serves as an initial screen of approximately 1.3 million students in about 21,000 high schools each year. We are honored to be able to acknowledge the accomplishments of our students who've been recognized both as commended students and as a semifinalist this year. Commended students are named on the basis of a nationally applied selection index score. Some of these students become candidates for special scholarships sponsored by corporations and businesses and represent only slightly more than 2% of all students tested. This year, 18 of these students were Highlanders. And at this time, I'd like to call up each of the commended students. I don't know that all of them are here, but I will say all of their names to recognize them. If you're here, please come up and join us. Dr. Varley and Mrs. Penna, when I share your name, please go join them. Our commended students are Olga Broznikova, Vibhav Chaturvedi, Rohit Sharamel, Andrew Kudo, Gia Ghosh, Charlotte Kang, Megan Kim, Aiden Key, Joseph Leposki, Justin Liu, Julian Netter, William Ng, Julie Piazza, Julia Pien, Colin Quigley, Brianna Sponheimer, and Anthony Tan. Our semifinalists. We have one more. Yeah. Okay. So in early September, high schools throughout the nation are notified as to whether any of their commended students have qualified as semifinalists. To ensure that academically talented young people from all parts of the United States are included in this talent pool, semifinalists are designated on a state representational basis. They are the highest scoring entrants in each state. To be considered for a National Merit Scholarship, semifinalists must advance to the finalist standing in the competition by meeting high academic standards and all other requirements as identified by the program. This year, we're proud to have a student who has been recognized with this distinction. And at this time, I'd like to congratulate Ayush Kayal.
Yeah.
We are extremely proud of our students, our a cappella group, as well as our National Merit Scholars. So thank you all for coming, and that concludes the superintendent's report. And I can't.
Am I working? Before I move on to the committee and liaison reports, I just want to mention that on Tuesday, the Ed Foundation did their basketball fundraiser where the administration and the teachers and a lot of the community volunteers all participated. Ms. Bradford, Mr. Gentili and I were there, and it was so much fun to see again. It's something they used to do and haven't done for a while. So I'm so happy that they brought it back. Also, during the halftime show, we had the Mary Kay McMillan students singing their star song, and we had Mountain Park students doing a dance recital, and I think Hughes and Woodruff were doing songs. So I'm telling you, Beyonce has nothing on the Berkeley Heights students. So it was really a fun night, and I was so happy that it was back again. So moving on. Oh, yes. And I'd also like to congratulate Ms. Jolly and Ms. Akiri for both being elected to the Board of Education. And I just want to let them know that if you have any questions regarding onboarding, please feel free to reach out to myself or Mr. Juskowitz. All right. Congratulations. And moving on to committee reports and liaison reports.
I have several liaison reports. The Town Council liaison. The Berkeley Heights Town Council met on Tuesday, October 17th. On Sunday, October 22nd, a successful fall festival was held at the Littell Lord Farmhouse on Horseshoe Road. Restoration of the historical landmark is proceeding, and following stabilization and restoration, it is hoped that Berkeley Heights students can then enter and learn more about the history of the farmstead. There also was a resolution at the Town Council authorizing a Safe Routes to School grant application to the New Jersey Department of Transportation for Safe Streets, Happy Feet, Berkeley Heights, Mountain Avenue sidewalk project for an amount up to $1.5 million. That would be sidewalks coming across all the way from almost like Hillcrest and Plainfield all the way across there again. So that was an application. There was a also the Town Council announced the Winter Walk Festival on Saturday, December 2nd. There will be a tree lighting ceremony, and there may be an appearance by Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus at that activity. The Berkeley Heights Recreation Commission met on Thursday, October 19th. There was an update on the Tom Barton courts and lighting. The discussion continues on the Lower Columbia Field. Check out the winter programs for youth and adults on the website. And the next meeting was actually tonight. The Union County Educational Services Commission met on Wednesday, November 1st. An update was provided on the 6 schools, the activities that they had for the month of October. The members also informally discussed the New Jersey School Board Association convention workshops in Atlantic City that many they attended, and we attended also. The Thanksgiving Day treats are shared here at our board meeting, were made and sold by the students at Westlake's Vocational Skills Workshop. And that concludes my liaison reports.
Thank you, Ms. Bradford. Anybody else? No? Okay, so I have a very quick update. The Technology Committee met on October the 20th. It was a pretty quick meeting. Mr. Marks updated the committee on work that was being done that had been outlined by the tech audit report. And Dr. Giordano updated the committee on security audit that took place on November 3rd and November 6th. The committee also discussed, there had been some questions and discussions about having an interactive portion of the Zoom. And we talked about the costs associated with doing that. And Mr. Marks broke it down for us that what we have right now is we do have Zoom, and the cost for having what we have right now, which is why we all moved to GL, the computer, the camera, the speakers, and the new TV, plus labor, all cost over $9,000. So the money that we had budgeted for a couple of years back when this was discussed, when Mr. Reinstein was president, we put about $10,000 aside. There was an ad hoc committee. So that money has been used. If we looked at adding the interactive portion, the cost associated with that would be an additional $7,500. So the majority of the board felt that with the related costs, that this was not something that we were going to consider. And that concludes my report. Sure.
So the additional 7,500, is that a one-time thing? Is that an annual cost?
I believe it's for the equipment, right?
It's, part of it is.
Hello, all right, thank you. Part of it approximately roughly about $1,500 is a one-time shot. The rest of it is occurring every year. So if it's 7,500, you're talking about $6,000 a year to do that.
And the $6,000 a year would enable people watching the meeting at home to participate, ask questions, like they would be able to speak. And we'll have somebody here who can kind of help monitor that. Is that how, like, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, we still have to work out those nuances of how that's going to work, how the board wants that set up. My recommendation would be, excuse me, we discuss with our board attorney and see any special training. I don't want our tech guys, my opinion, being the ones to censor people. There's a whole.
So there's a lot
Liability.
more
lot
involved
more
than
involved
the
with
cost,
that price.
Liability
Yeah,
as
but
well.
just the cost alone
Right.
is a
Like, I
concern.
don't want to have our tech people being the ones responsible. God forbid if someone is online and posts something offensive or we don't, how is that their responsibility to manage that? We'd have to work on there's a lot more involved with this than just the $6,000, $7,000.
I also,
I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need the tech person to be responsible for, censoring. But it does give people the ability to participate more than what is available now. And you could apply technically that situation here where somebody could walk in, have an offensive poster. Sure, there are people in the room that could physically go and, escort that person out. But
We can also
I'm-
turn the camera off.
Right.
you could turn the camera off. That's another way. But it seems $6,000 a year in recurring cost. It seems worthwhile for us to take that option seriously to enable more participation.
So-
That's my opinion.
I also reached out to the New Jersey School Boards Association representative to ask her take on it, to see what her opinion was. And firstly, she said there are very few schools who would do that. And secondly, it wasn't their recommendation that that's something they would recommend. So that was something we've took into consideration as well. All right. Moving on. Any other board liaison and committee reports? No? Okay, so board communication?
We received correspondence from a staff member who answered a parent's email that was sent out earlier. Topic of correspondence was based on climate assessment. Student body filled out back in June of 2023. We received another correspondence from staff member resigning from a stipend position. We received a correspondence from the public about a potential Open Public Meetings Act violation. And we received a correspondence from a staff member withdrawing from a submitted professional development that was already approved. And that was basically a correspondence that we had received.
Mr. Juskowitz, do you have a business administrator's report for us, please?
I do not at this moment. I just started on Tuesday.
Okay. I didn't think you would, but I thought I'd ask. Okay, so if we no longer have,
I'm making sure Jake and Olivia are okay. Do you guys want to go or do you want to stay longer?
we're moving to the public portion, so you're welcome to leave if you,
It's whatever you want to do.
it's up to you.
I used to just try to catch his eye.
We stay a little longer?
Absolutely. I just try to get your attention.
So I'm moving on to the comment section for the public. Okay, during this portion of the meeting, district residents and staff are invited to address the Board of Education on agenda action items only. The board requests that individuals state their name and town of residence or school of attendance for the record. All comments should be directed to the board president, and depending on the nature and the complexity of the question, it may or may not be answered during the meeting by the administration. If so, the response would occur after this public portion of the meeting has concluded. Although the board may not respond to all items raised during the public forum, all public comments will be considered. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding personnel matters are discouraged and cannot be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The board bears no responsibility, nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. Please note that if any member of the public becomes disruptive during the meeting, the board president may terminate the participant's statement. Continued disruptions may result in removal from or adjournment of the meeting. Each speaker's statement will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Please come up and state your name if you have anything to comment on agenda items only.
Hello, good evening. Natasha Jolly of Berkeley Heights. So from the agenda, I noticed that there were additional FTEs that were added. So the special education teacher, there were FTEs that were increased from 0.6 to 0.1 for 2 teachers. There was also a social worker position that was approved. And so I think the total salaries or increases in salaries coming to 135,000 or so approximately. So I was just wondering how the funding for these additional salaries, where that was coming from. Then there was in the section where under accept state funding for school facilities project, there were two projects for the Columbia Middle School roof and William Woodruff Elementary School roof. The one thing that caught my eye was that it says these projects will be submitted as an other capital project with capital reserve funding and no state funding, or submitted as a school facilities project and funded with capital reserve funding with ROD grant state funding. So I guess, do we have any ROD grant state funding for these? And I didn't understand why it would be submitted as one or the other. Because in some research, I noticed that for 2023 year, Berkeley Heights was not a district that was given any ROD grants. So I don't know if we didn't apply, maybe for projects for prior year. These 2 projects were, I guess, considered for the 24-25 budget, but they were in the works, but they were known earlier this year. Sorry, so just wondering what the state of the funding for these 2 elements are. Are we actually accepting any state funding? And then for policies, so policy 155, I think this is the one where the board president is the only one who approves committees. I guess not a mandatory policy. It's been working up until this point. And I guess, as someone new coming in, just wondering why this change is being made. Under policy 164, again, new business, old business. Just curious about the 48 hours, given that in the same policy, there is, it states that an agenda can be provided 1 day prior. So why, agenda items are 1 day, but like any new business has to be 48 hours in advance. And sometimes the agenda even gets updated on the day of. So just, again, not really necessary. And I hope you reconsider, because I don't think it adds anything to transparency. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Shauna Williams, Berkeley Heights. Just one question that's kind of peripherally related to the, I don't know, resignation or rescinding Stephen Hopkins' position as custodian of records. If you could please let us know, if you don't have the information now, maybe email me later, how many OPRA requests we've seen in the last couple of months so that the public has some kind of idea as to what that limit is that requires a custodian of records. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Dr. Vaughn,
yes.
do you
oh,
want
sorry,
to
I'm
answer the question on the
stuck
staff?
I'm stuck on the timer. Yes. So there is no increase in staff. We had a teacher resign last month. So these people are taking those two positions, special ed positions are taking the role of that teacher. So they're just assuming that job. So there's no increase there. And the other is just a position title change. They've been in the budget, they're still there. So there's no increase on there. As far as the ROD grants, I don't know if I know this is your third day, so I'm not sure you have that information. You got it? No.
What I'm trying to understand is the question that you were asking about those ROD grants. Those were submitted. There was about 5 projects that were submitted. The state was only doing tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 happened to be roofs. Tier 2 happened to be HVAC. We didn't put anything for HVAC. There were 3 other projects that were put in that were lower tier, but the state awarded tier 1 and 2 monies to everybody in the whole entire state. So the other projects that we put in, I don't know all the 3 others off the top of my head. They were not, what's the word I'm looking, approved. They were not approved. So there's only the 2 roofing projects that were done. Money was put aside in the budget for these roofing projects. And what's going to happen is that the state, once these projects are done, there's paperwork that we have to submit down to the state. They'll award us back 40% of that money. There's a process that has to happen, that the inspector has to come out from the state to view these projects to ensure that they were done under the proper scope. And if the projects, let's say, were awarded at $1 million and the bids will come in at, let's say, 800, they'll only reimburse us for the 800 and not the full $1 million. So there's a lot of criteria and stipulations that need to be followed, but hopefully that'll answer your question. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to, now that we have closed the public comment section, let's move on to agenda items. Okay, I would like a motion to approve Resolution A, which is the minutes for the executive session minutes from October the 12th, regular session minutes from October the 12th, and regular session minutes from November the 2nd. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
I can't, it's when people answer, I just couldn't see. Gail moved it.
Ms. Bradford?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. And who was the second?
Mr.
Okay,
Chinchilli,
there we go. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Ms. Bradford,
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli,
Yes.
Dr. Forager,
Yes.
Mr. Hyman, Ms. Khanna,
Yes.
Ms. Stanley,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes, but I'll abstain November 2nd. I was absent, not present at the meeting.
and Ms. Penna.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to administration. I would like a motion to approve resolution A through E, all board members.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, Bradford.
Thank you.
Do we have any discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to address a couple of policy. The one with respect to the board president naming the committee appointments, that is standard and it comes from Strauss Esme. I realized we were out of alignment and I wouldn't necessarily change it just because of that. But then it occurred to me we're an 8-member board. And I think that could be an issue since I'm actually stopping and looking at it. We did discuss this in committee. One suggestion was, well, if it's 4-4, we just have no committees that year. I don't think that was really a direction we wanted to go into. So because we have an even number of members, it's probably better if we're looking at the policy anyway, or redoing the bylaws anyway. It probably makes more sense to do it the way that most districts do. And there's no statutory requirement that otherwise. The second one is, I believe.
Sorry, Robert, can I ask a question on
sure.
the same thing?
Sure.
The logic of the 4-4, I'm not sure I necessarily buy that because that applies to pretty much everything that we put on the agenda. You could have a 4-4 vote and, that's how it is. The board is meant to be a consensus-driven body, and I can't understand why we are trying to fix something that isn't broken. I'm trying to better understand the logic of removing the words that we are removing.
First of all, on your first point, I would draw a distinction regarding our always being a 4-4 board. That's fine if there's a tie and it's 4-4 and then that means something doesn't move forward or pass. There are other instances such as committees. If it doesn't pass, we have no committees. That's significantly different than just not passing something at a board meeting. It's organizationally, it's operationally, it's once a year, and it's material. As one of our committee members pointed out, we just won't have any board committees that year. I don't sense that that's a good, result, particularly for a district our size. I don't know of any district our size that operates that way. So, I mean, if you can name another alternative, it's a different kind of vote. I realize we're always an 8-person board, but this is something that has to go through. It's like the budget. If it's 4-4 on the budget, that just doesn't not go through. My understanding is it gets escalated to the executive county superintendent. So there are certain things that really have to happen. Now, legally, do we have to have committees to the same extent we have to pass a budget? No. But if we have no committees, I hope we can all agree that's going to be an issue for us meeting in public for every committee meeting, calling a board meeting and organizing a board meeting in advance for any time any committee currently meets. It's not practical, to say the least.
So we would be forced to operate as a board as a whole instead of committees. That's the fallback.
That's my sense, yes.
Yeah, okay. I still don't totally appreciate the reason why we would put something in policy that would essentially have one person have a final say or any say on the committee structure. So if it wasn't broken now, why would we change it?
As I said, I was looking at our bylaws and have been doing so this summer and fall in particular, and going through the bylaws and updating them. And when I saw this, I didn't initially have, when I updated this last time, I did not initially have the Strauss-Esme template version. I received that afterward, after the last update to this bylaw. And that's when I noticed it. And I looked around actually further to other districts. No other district really has that. It's really standard. It's an appointment by the board president for 1 year. And I believe that tracks the code very, very closely. And that's how it works. So, I mean, that's the reason is probably this is when I noticed it. I don't know that I have a better answer, but we're doing the bylaws or updating them in the second half of this year. And I most recently got a copy of that particular bylaw template from Strauss-Esme. So that's the time.
We are not mandated. This isn't something that we have to do. This is something that is being proposed. It's not
legally required.
It's not legally required.
Correct.
Okay.
It's recommended by the policy committee. Just to clarify or add, the time from when the new board starts to when the committees need to be assigned is an extremely short period. So it really needs to be done quite quickly. or the way it's been done in the past, is everybody gets a choice. They send in their recommendations and it's done quite quickly, and everybody it's given positions based on either seniority or experience. For example, if you have a finance background, the chances are you would be recommended, but also based on what your recommendations are. I know last year when I did it, my intention was to make sure that everybody had at least two of their requests, and also based and looks at where to put people based on what they could bring to the table in terms of their experience. So, but it's also a very quick process. So it needs to be done quite quickly so that the board can have the committees voted on in the second meeting of January. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background there as to why sort of we need to do this quite quickly.
So in this case, what are we saying? Is it not to be voted by the majority?
Well, there was no official vote in any event.
It's never, yeah.
I think under the two board presidents ago, he did that. And then Gwen, our resource from New Jersey School Boards Association, says, no, you don't need to actually vote on that. You could just do what most districts do.
Most districts just their president appoints the committees, and some do it slightly differently. Some do a rotation like we had with the discussion last week. The way we do it is we actually get input from the board members on their requests and what they would like. And we do our best to be fair. So that's the way we've done it. Okay, is there any more discussion? No? So if there's no more discussion, I would like.
The other
Sorry,
one
are
on
we, are we voting on all, everything on administration or?
Yeah, we're doing
yeah?
administration, yes.
Okay,
it's all
so-
of it.
We're doing all the items.
And sorry,
But just the
you
other,
you were about to say something when I had this question on this policy. Do you want to continue with what you wanted to finish?
I don't know if it's the same policy. I'm switching policies.
Yeah.
Right? Is this the same policy?
No, but you had something else on another policy, I think.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I think there was another comment regarding the 48-hour.
There was,
Yes.
there was. Ms. Dooley
And-
brought that up.
Yes, I don't know about dovetailing it with the agenda. The agenda will continually change, but the agenda is primarily tweaked as a result of late. In my opinion, I'm not obviously speaking on behalf of the people who make up the agenda. I don't do that, but it seems like each day something comes up, we have more information where we would have a placeholder for something before even anything that anyone sees. So it is sort of a working document. I think that's the nature of an agenda. In this case, as I think I communicated at the last meeting, this is more of a notice requirement so that we're all on the same page. When we can come to the meeting, being prepared to discuss certain topics. I think that's a little bit different than voting on something in an agenda. At least I do. I mean, people can certainly disagree. I don't know that I would put it in the same bucket.
So I mean, to that point, I could say exactly the same thing about items that somebody might want to bring up for new business is things are changing. I might have heard something this morning that I thought would be relevant to bring up to the board. So it just seems rather arbitrary that we are applying the 48-hour requirement only to new business, but not other pieces of the agenda.
So if you look at the code of ethics that was handed to everybody, the last one, it says, I refer all complaints to the chief administrative officer and will act on the complaints at public meetings only after failure of administrative solution. So if you come up with an idea that morning, you should be going to our leaders, right? The board president or Dr. Varley, the superintendent, who we are supposed to talk to before coming to our board meeting, right? Like board meetings, we're a public school. We don't move quickly, right? Things need to go through a process for a purpose.
I think at the last meeting, what I had mentioned actually, when another member brought this up was speaking for myself and practically being a board member for regardless of who you are, one can always go. And I think oftentimes if you have an idea that morning, I would personally reach out to the person on the committee and get their input on the applicable committee that is. And I would probably say, I'm thinking about this. Can you put this on your agenda for your next committee? And at least to discuss. And if I'm on the committee, I'll be part of that conversation. If I'm not on that committee, then I can say to the chair, well, here's what I think. Will you make sure it's on the agenda and let me know how it comes out, the minutes and all that stuff? So it's not like if you come up with an idea, it's just got to wait a month if you think of it the same day. It can move forward, whether you engage the administration, in this case superintendent, the BA, or the committee chairs. It's not going to just stay, dormant, or it shouldn't. People should feel comfortable reaching out to other committee members, and I think I made that point. So
I'm trying to just better understand the requirement to put this language in, because everything that you've described makes sense. It's logical, and we could, institute that as a norm. But putting this language in here, you're essentially, not encouraging people to bring an idea. So maybe as a next step, just so I understand, you put this in place, somebody has an idea magically 48 hours before, yay. Is that going to, so the agenda is published, are we gonna have new business and, 5 things that 5 people came up with? Help me understand how you operationalize this.
I didn't get the impression that we would change the agenda to say anything other than new business. I don't think that gets added. As far as I know, it's not officially added to the agenda.
It's not.
The whole thing is it's a notice. Again, it's a notice.
notice.
It's an FYI to board members to be prepared to bring your thoughts. Think about this first. And that's all. An agenda item to me is something perhaps we would vote on and placed. There'd probably be a different process for placing it on the agenda than merely sending around an email and say, heads up, I plan on bringing up this issue in new business. I don't think that's the same.
So you're not gonna put this on the agenda where the public knows that, okay, this is what's coming up in new business. I don't truly appreciate why we are putting this language in here.
So the other thing is that, for example, if you thought of something and you wanted to discuss it.
Right.
And we may not have had the answer, that would give the administration or me or whoever, the committee chair, an opportunity to get the answers, so that when you actually have the discussion at the board meeting, the chair or whoever the discussion may be around has information that they can relay, and that leads to a more productive discussion, in my opinion.
So I guess you're thinking of this as anybody coming to new business, wanting to force a motion or force a vote, but that's not the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at this as you're essentially stopping people from coming up to the board meeting and actually, sharing a thought or a question or an idea, whatever that is. By forcing them to go through a screening process is the best way I can put it, the way, Robert, that your explanation was and what's written here. And I'm not sure I see why we would want to do that.
So
It's not
I
a
think-
screening
There's no
process.
screening.
It's
That's
a-
not a
it's not
screening
a screening
And there's
process.
always procedure,
It's a
right? There
procedure.
should always be procedure to any
Not a
board
screening
thing,
process.
right? Asking
It's a
me to
process.
vote on something that you brought up that night is not,
Right.
right, acceptable. And that's pretty general, right,
I
throughout
totally
boards, right? So this is just reminding everyone that there is a procedure
Procedure.
and that you need to go through that procedure. Again, no one is shutting down your voice. We just spent about 10 minutes on policy, right? And you had these minutes a couple of days ago where you could have gone back and forth with Robert to get some of your questions answered. So again, I would ask that we move on to a vote, and we can always vote this down. This is the second time this particular policy is on here. So we've had 2 months, 2 public comment sessions on this policy, and then we can vote for it. And it either passes or doesn't, but we need to move on.
So the point of the board, we are a policy-making body. This is policy. We are putting words in our policy that are effective, or if it doesn't pass, they aren't. So this whole exercise is meant to debate
Mhm.
on what's going in the policy. And we will move on when everybody's points have been heard, debated, discussed, and then ready to vote.
So,
Does anyone have any
So-
other points to make?
okay, so I was just going to say that. So, thank you. So, if there is no more discussion, everybody's had an opportunity to speak. If there is no more discussion, I would recommend that we move on. Anybody else have any discussion? No? Okay, so we will then move on to a vote. Thank you.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Ms. Bradford,
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli,
Yes
Sorry.
to all.
Dr. Forager,
Okay, on 155, certainly no, that's a violation of the First Amendment. Yes, on the rest of the 150, rest of A. On the second reading policies, 164, which is the conduct of board meetings. That's a no on 164, yes to the other parts. Part C, we're doing C, right? C is yes, yes. C is yes. Professional development is yes, and HIB is abstain.
HIB is E, correct?
E, yes.
Ms. Khan?
Hannah.
Hannah, I'm sorry.
Within a no to 155, yes to the others. Within B, no to 164, yes to the others, and then yes to C, D, and E.
Thank you. Ms. Stanley
Yes to all.
and Ms. Penna.
Yes,
Motion passes.
moving on to education. I would like a motion to approve resolution A through F, all board members.
So moved.
Ms. Young, second,
Second by
Stanley. Okay, any discussion?
Yes, I have a question on E. This is the consultant for the Challenge Day. As I understand it, I just want to confirm that these funds are through the ESSER and mental health funds. They don't come out of our budget.
Correct.
Yes.
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 And the other question I had was on F. This was the Jumpstart program. And the Jumpstart program is being funded by the students. So the staff people who would teach this, that this is after school. So is this a stipend, or does this come out of the budget, or does this come out of the fees that the students provide?
It's paid by the students for this college jumpstart. And it's during the summer, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
I just want to comment how excited I am about Challenge Day. I'm really glad that we're putting an effort to make this something that we see for our sophomores. I think it really did a lot of good last year, and I'm excited for what it's going to bring for this year.
Absolutely. We are really excited, and I do want to throw a shout out to Dr. Janasco, our other AJ, who put this through. So kudos to her.
Any more discussion? If there's no more discussion, can we have roll call, please, Mr. Juskovitz?
Mrs. Young,
Yes.
Ms. Stanley,
Yes to all.
Ms. Bradford,
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli,
Yes to all.
Dr. Forager,
Yes.
Ms. Khanna,
Yes.
Ms. Penna.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to personnel, I would like a motion to approve resolution A through R, all board members. Jordan is not here. So it would be resolution A through AC. Do I have a motion?
Moved by Bradford.
Second by Stanley. Any discussion?
Can I just comment? So the wrestling volunteers, I just really wanted to thank them. Like this is something that they do because they love the sport and they love our students, right? They're literally volunteering their time for free. And I really just appreciate that. I also want to say thank you to Mr. Hopkins for all that he's done as record custodian. That job is not fun. It is not easy. And it takes a lot of time. So I really do want to thank him for his time. And that's it.
I'd just like to say I appreciate being copied on those requests that come in and go out. It gives me a greater insight. I guess all board members are copied, by the way. A greater insight into the back and forth, the requests we get, the type we get, and the responses, and in some cases requiring a great deal of redaction, unfortunately. So I do hope, I think a resident mentioned wanting some statistics on this year's volume of Oprah requests. So I just remind the administration, if we could come up with that, I would like to hear that as well.
Yeah, we have a note for that.
I don't keep a running total myself, but I enjoy being copied.
Yes, we will look into that. I know, I'll have to reach out to Mr. Hopkins to find out what the total is for right now.
I too also want to thank Mr. Hopkins. I know it's not an easy job and he has been very diligent and I also appreciate being copied. So thank you once again to him. Any more discussion? If there's no more discussion, can we please have a roll call?
Ms. Bradford,
Yes.
Ms. Stanley?
Yeah.
Mr. Chanchuli? Dr. Forager,
Yes to all.
Ms. Khanna,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
and Ms. Penna.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to business, may I want to approve a resolution A through O. By Stanley, second by Young. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to, on A, the approved submission of the M1 Comprehensive Maintenance Plan. You know, could you explain that a little bit more? I know I had reached out to you before for an explanation, but I want the public to also hear the explanation for those sheets.
The state asked us to compile those, that information every year, and it gives us, they asked for 10 years worth of the expenditures that were used in the maintenance of the facilities during that time. And part of it is used during the budget process because it sets forth limits of a certain amount of money that you can place into capital reserve. So that is what that is used for.
So it's a projection and a looking back of 10 years.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? I was just about to say, I'd like to say thank you to, I think it's the Highlander Booster Club for the donation of $14,464,000. Thank you very much for your generous donation. We appreciate that. Any more discussion? If there's no more discussion, can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Stanley?
Yeah.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
Dr. Forager?
Yes.
Ms. Khanna?
Yes.
And Ms. Penna.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to finance, I'd like a motion to approve resolutions A through D for all board members. Do I have a motion?
Moved by Bradford. I did the bills. Yes.
And she's chipper about it.
Everything looked great and all my questions were answered. And I also saw Tom and Dipty there, so they looked also. So those bills have been really looked over.
Any more discussion?
No, it's gonna be seconded.
Okay.
We didn't.
Second,
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 sorry.
Chanchuli.
We didn't second, Mr. Chanchuli. Okay. Now we may have discussion. Nope. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Mr. Chanchuli?
Yes.
Dr. Forager?
Yes.
Ms. Khanna?
Yes.
Ms. Stanley?
Yeah.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
And Ms. Penna.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so now we move on to the public comment section on any topic. I won't reread it, so anybody has anything to comment on, can you please come up to the podium, please? Thank you.
Wow.
Hello, Natasha Jolly, Berkeley Heights. So the record custodian position, is that position being eliminated, and would the board secretary take on that responsibility going forward? That's my one comment. So the Zoom equipment, the $6,500 for the ability to interact is a little, as an ongoing cost, seems surprising. Again, I'm not a technician, I don't know, but I join Zoom meetings for free and I'm able to communicate on most of them. And I don't believe this was ever addressed at the time that at the time that the equipment was bought, all the equipment that was cited. So I guess I would like to ask that the minutes or that the breakdown or that the materials from the committee, minutes are published so we can, take a look. Like I said, it is a surprising thing that this has to be an ongoing cost for Zoom meetings. That may be the fact, but I would just like to understand a little bit more because this is the first time that this has ever come up. And back in the day during COVID, is this an amount that we were paying because the Zoom meetings functioned really well? And there was so much participation, especially, when it was, big things were happening. So again, it worked well then. I don't see why it's prohibitive now. And I'd also like to state that the NJSBA is not a governing body. They are advisory. We don't always have to do exactly what they say, right? We have to do what's right for our district. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Did you want to talk about the custodial record position? Or do we really haven't decided?
As of right now, there's not a decision on whether we will renew the custodian of records position, aside from the board secretary. I will say that it is difficult with the number of Oprahs that we have for the BA to take this role on. So if it does get overwhelming for Mr. Juskowitz, we would have to send them out to our attorney to do the Oprahs. So right now we're kind of in a holding pattern, but moving forward, it may be something we have to look into again.
Okay. There is nobody else coming up. I will close that portion of the public comment section. New business. Robert, did you want to bring up board goals?
Yes, are we up to old business?
We can
Going
talk about old
forward,
business.
yes. I don't know that I want to talk about or bring up anything in particular, but I know the approach since the last meeting, the information you've gotten perhaps doesn't make us ready tonight to vote on anything. Therefore, can you please let us know what the status is?
Okay, so after the board meeting, we didn't have a lot of time for everybody to get the information together. Not everybody was able to get it to me in time for tonight's meeting, which is fine. It was a long shot, and we tried, but in all fairness, we knew it was a tough possibility to actually see if we could. So we will definitely be looking at voting and approving them at the December meeting. When I receive the final information from some of the members who still need to send me their input, I will compile the document. I will then send it to the board for review and feedback. And then I will get the complete document put together, and then we will have it ready for discussion and to vote at the December meeting. That is the process that we plan to do moving forward.
Thank
All right. There's no new business, right? So if there is no new business, I would like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
So that was Young and
Change.
so meeting is adjourned.
Oh.
Don't need to watch.